TOA community, welcome back everybody. Wednesdays with Robert right here on trainingtheolderadult.com. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're subscribed to the channel, ringing that bell. Make sure you don't miss any of the content we're putting up. Putting up more content lately, getting a little more time to do some more of these videos. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, Wednesdays with Robert. We are going to dive into all kinds of stuff. But first thing we're going to start off with is, has anybody seen the moon? Have you gone out and seen the moon the last couple of nights? This is the most impressive moon I have ever seen. This is a full moon that is so bright, okay? This was outside this morning. I took with my cell phone, which obviously can't, zoom in on the moon itself, but it's so bright that you can see the blue illuminating in the sky. This was at 3:15 in the morning, okay? Earlier than that, actually, like 2:55 in the morning. I'm in here lifting. I went out on a ruck yesterday, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Having some good successes with our rucks lately. I'm going to talk about my buddy John and I going out on the weekends together, having some fun as partners. Good old glory there, American flag flying in the middle. This was an awesome experience. It's so bright outside. I could actually go out and do the ruck without my headlamp on. I know this is a bit of a fuzzy photo. Sorry, I thought it was a little cleaner than that. But anyhow, had a very, very good couple of weeks of rucking. Loving this full moon. It's been very, very fun to go out and do that. So with that being said, make sure if you get a chance, go out there and check it out. It's one of the most unique. It's the brightest full moon or whatever it is that we're supposed to have for a couple of years here. So it's very, very cool. Anyhow, rucks have been going really good. I talked a little bit in one of my last videos about training protocol and how you can lift on certain days, and then on other days you can go out for walks or for rucks. And so one question I got from that is, how do I know what I should be doing on what days or what distances? So I just wanted to kind of recap and review what I do very quickly. I have a Tuesday ruck, a Thursday ruck, and a Saturday ruck. My Tuesday ruck, I go a little bit heavier in weight. I go a little slower in my time frame, knowing that I'm carrying a heavier load. And I don't go as far, but I try to find more hills to climb. Now, I'm up in the hills a little bit, so I have lots of options here to find different hills. I seek the mountains. I love it. I love doing the climbs. So Tuesday is one of my favorite days, okay? And by heavier, I say about 40 pounds, maybe 50 on a good day, okay? Really, that's about as heavy as I'm ever gonna go. And I'm out there for, 4 to 5 miles, maybe 6 miles. Again, this is something that I do as my sport, so I'm going quite a bit further than average people do, okay? So you could go out for 1 to 3 miles, you could carry 20, 25 pounds, something like that. But seek hills, that's really what you want to do on, say, a Tuesday or a short day. Then on Thursday, I go a little lighter, so I do my standard weight of 30. And I am going for distance, going for speed. It's a little bit flatter, but I go further. So I'll get 7 to 8 miles. On a Thursday, I get out a little earlier, and I'm turning and burning. I'm going as quick as I can. And then on Saturdays, I'm doing either that same weight, if not a little bit lighter, but I'm going a lot further, and I'm going as fast as I can. So I'll go anywhere from 10 to 15. I think I did 12 last weekend, 11 the weekend before that, and that's when my buddy John will pop in and join me for 5 or 6 miles. We go around the lake, we go around the area here, and then we kind of head off on our way and split, and he heads home and I head home. We live, within a mile and a half of each other. So get to meet out there and rock. I love the social engagement, having a buddy out there with me. It's fun to have some engagements, listening to podcasts and music, everything else. It's nice to have some human interaction. John's a great guy, a good buddy, a good friend. So we have a good time out there on our rucks together. So get out and see the moon, get out on the rucks, and you should have a little variety in your rucks as you go. This is a new mobility menu. Now, this is something that's kind of, I'm breaking the fourth wall, as they say in the biz, where you're showing some of the behind the scenes stuff that typically not everybody gets to see. But we wanted to show this. This is a new mobility menu that we're offering in-house with our clients, where you could have a general mobility warm-up, or if you have a little bit more of a upper body limitation, the blue menu, the one in the middle, is a little bit more focused on some correctives for your upper body, and then the green one is a little more focused on lower body. My point of showing you this is feel free to use it, number one, but number two is everybody should have a different mobility menu, okay? There are general mobilities out there, dynamic mobility, movement, dynamic flexibility, whatever you want to call it, and they're great exercises for everybody to do. But pending the physical ailment or limitation that you have, or it could simply be a stiffness or a tightness that you have in a certain area, you should have some exercises selected specifically to that. Ones that feel good, ones that help you loosen up, ones that make you feel like you're ready to perform and get into your routine. but also ones that are maybe bringing up some of your weaker areas or overcoming some of the limitations that you might have. So just wanted to give you a little variety, give you an option, kind of show you that a little bit. I am presenting this weekend, FBA Fitness Business Association. They do the Succeed online conference every year. Well, they do 2 a year. And my buddy Jenny Grimsley, myself, and a whole slew of other great speakers are all presenting this weekend. This event starts Thursday and goes through Monday, Friday and goes through Monday, something like that. Head over to FBASucceed.com. You can see it right there. There is a free version of this, and then where you can just basically see everything as it kind of comes out. And then they have a recorded option you purchase and get CEUs, and you can get in there and have content for a longer period of time, so you can go through all the talks. But great organization, Josh and Sarah and everybody over there. I love FBA, so go check them out. I did 2 really good talks. They're pre-recorded talks, but we're on there live while the presentations are going. You can ask questions. We do Q&A back and forth, etc. All right, make sure I get my volume down here. This is a video of Kathleen and Linda in-house training here with me, and we're doing a little exercise here, what we call a serpentine suitcase carry. And the purpose of this is changing direction, smooth, quick feet, hand-eye coordination, balance, reaction time, change of direction, overload on one side, no load on the other, holding proper posture, engagement, etc. My point is I'm trying to check multiple boxes with one exercise, okay? And this is something we do, as you saw in that mobility menu, there was like a list of each exercise, and then under it, it said primers. These are personalized primers that I do for these ladies in-house. No one else is on with them online. No one else is in-house. It's just these 2. Sometimes Lydia, our other partner, comes in. But same thing, we're trying to improve and increase these abilities for our ladies. So notice as they're going, they're kind of chasing each other, so there's an increased encouraged tempo. Smooth, rolling through their feet, working on their ground and foot coordination contacts and how they move and kind of manipulate their bodies through and around these different angles. Now, we're dealing with foot injuries, ankle, knee, lower back, all the way up to shoulder injuries, and we're addressing all of that in one exercise, okay? So that could be something suitcase style, serpentine carries, where you're going in and out, little figure 8s or infinities, or anywhere you want to go, in the kitchen, around the island, back, up and down the stairs. Just be careful, right? But go anywhere you want. This progressive sit to stand is one of my favorite exercises to do. I did this with my dad a lot because I loved the idea of getting him to stand up, initially take that step of like, I'm going to go somewhere, and then sit back down. And so he got to practice just the initial first step, your first acceleration phase, your first step to like get you going in a direction, right? I love that in terms of prepping and engaging musculature on, off, instead of a dimmer that's low, high, okay? Now let me explain that a little bit. Meaning that the purpose of this is when I do an air squat, okay, with just my body weight. So if I'm just squatting out here in space, okay, every time I squat, my quads are getting to pre-stretch, my glutes are getting to pre-stretch, and they basically stretch, and then they slingshot me back up. So I'm getting an elastic, kinetic potential building component to this, where my eccentric stretch helps me fire concentrically back up every time I squat. But if I sit down and completely unload and shut that off and then re-engage and come up, I kind of lose that elasticity. I lose that slingshot effect, if you will. That isn't a cheat. It's not cheating. It's just a different style of training. Do I want something that's a little more power-based, elastic, power, boom, quick snap? Or do I want something that's like brute, pure strength-based? Today, during one of our sessions, one of our clients said, are these called deadlifts because you're killing all the momentum out of it? And it was just kind of funny the way that she said it, but it's accurate. Like, the difference, if I'm holding a kettlebell down between my knees and I squat and I don't touch the weight to the floor and I come back up, that's just a holding low squat, right? I mean, you could technically call it a deadlift because the weight's below your belt line. but you're not putting the weight down, okay? And the big key to the deadlift is that it's dead momentum. It's you set it down, you re-engage, you go. You don't get that elastic stretch like you do in a squat, starting at the top, goblet squatting, starting at the top, stretching your quads, firing back up, stretching the quads, firing back up. You don't get that, right? Every time I'm gonna set that weight down, re-engage, reset, and go. I don't get the momentous component to this. I think as we age, there's greater value, greater return in doing these sit to stand variation exercises. And then these ones where it's like, I'm gonna start to go somewhere, sit down, come up, I'm gonna start to go, but now we go backwards too. So now we're working on displacing our body weight going backwards. It's a really good one. And then just simple pullovers, hammer grip, neutral grip, pullovers. I love these because I use this term, grooves the path to the overhead position, but you're not pressing to overhead, you're allowing gravity to pull you to overhead. And I think there's a ton of value there, priming the shoulders, getting them ready to go in an overhead position without actually pressing or pushing your arms to the overhead. You're allowing gravity to pull you there. So those are 3 that I wanted to share. I want to make sure that if that's something out there that all of you are kind of connecting with and wanting to kind of implement, if you find any lacks of strength or coordination, you want to try a couple of those. Those are really good exercises and lifts to do before you kind of start your training routine. All right, cold water exposure. Why is this coming up? Because this is something I did a ton of in college. Every day I got done training, we had all of these ice buckets laid out. We had 20 of them at Sac State. All the football players, all the throwers, we would all throw 4 or 5 buckets of ice in there. Hop in, and basically you sat in this ice bucket up to your neck with your hands and your face out. If you could tolerate your hands being in, you could. There are some concerns with this in terms of nerve endings and sensation in your hands and your face and on your feet. Some people will get their feet, their hands, or their face into this cold water and they'll black out. So this is not something you want to try by yourself the first time, or really any time on a regular basis. You should probably have somebody with you, or be in a device like the one I'm going to show you where I cannot submerge myself any deeper than I'll come back to this in a second, but just so you can see, like, I can't go any deeper than that. I'm on my knees, ass to floor. I can't, so if I blacked out, I could drown, of course, but I basically just kind of lean into the barrel and be stuck there, right? If you're going to be by yourself, that's kind of the ideal way to be. Now, when you look at Keegan, when she's in there, I mean, she fits a whole hell of a lot better than I do. And then the kids jumped in there too. We definitely don't want to have them do this on their own. But the value that you're going to get out of an ice plunge. Now, the goal is to build up to 3 minutes, and your water exposure should be, somewhere under 50 degrees for sure. And now I know the purists out there are going to be like, Rob, that's not cold enough. I know. I'm talking about people, regular folk who are just starting out of the idea of, how could I get the benefits here of ice exposure, of plunging and cold water exposure? You want to do this ideally, okay? Ideally, you want to do it before you resistance train or exercise or lift, right? And you want to go for about 3 minutes as your goal, and you want the water to be under 40 degrees. Like, the closer to freezing, the better. 34 degrees is ideal. And then anywhere up in between there, between 34 and 40 is awesome. Now, there are devices you can get that are chillers that it's a tube system you would put in there, and it pulls the water and chills it and puts it back in. And it can take all the way down to like 38 or 39 degrees and make it pretty damn cold. Now, you could throw ice in there with that and make it even colder, and it would give you a pretty good opportunity to have a very cold exposure experience. Now, 3 minutes, most folks will put little booties over their hands and their feet, so if they do want to fully submerge, they're just getting a little extra protection of the cold shock on the higher sensory areas of their body. And then typically they will do grab the nose, dunk your head under once or twice right towards the end, and then you're out. Now, is there something macho to going longer than 3 minutes? Well, if the water's in the high 40s, or even low 50s, then yeah, stay in longer. I would do 20-minute soaks when I was at Sac State, but I would just be in cold water. I liked to sit in the cold water longer than be in ice cold water for like 2 or 3 minutes. At the time, though, again, this was 20 years ago, we didn't really know any better. And now we're noticing that the colder the water and the shorter exposures of 3 minutes is actually quite a bit better for us, okay? Now, I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert, and I'm gonna let you kind of hear more. Peter Attia, one of my favorite people to learn from. I 100% call him a mentor, even though he doesn't know me, I don't know him, but I love his content. I love what he teaches, how he teaches it. it's such a research-based and a educated mindset behind it. He thinks everything through. He gives you all the pros and cons, lets you make decisions, but he says, hey, here's information. So this is from his regular website. You can pop on there, check it out. But they also have a membership site. Keegan got me a membership as a Christmas present, and I love it. I'm on there weekly, listening to podcasts, AMAs, Ask Me Anythings, all kinds of great content. So big shout out to Peter Attia. He's got an awesome book called Outlive as well. The audio version is even better because he reads it. And then he's got a podcast called The Drive that's excellent. He'll have Lane Norton on there. He has all kinds of folks. Andy Galpin. Huberman. God, my brain is just going dead half the time. Huberman's on there. Those are kind of regulars he sees. So as far as the fitness world goes, he's got all kinds of other experts, but as far as our fitness stuff goes, those are kind of the regulars that really give him good content. So the ice exposure, I think there's very good value there. Now, there are talks of like, well, the last 30 seconds of every shower, I'm just going to turn it as cold as I can go. There's still value there. Really, that's more of a therapeutic component because you just took a warm shower, all of your pores opened. You're now putting soap on your body, you're washing off oil, dirt, grime, anything else that's gonna get out of your body. And then at the end, if you just shut the water off, all your pores are still open. If you were to just splash cold, if you were to just turn it cold and just kind of throw your head under and that would close your pores up enough. And that's when your skin kind of gets that, like that little prickly feeling too. You're like, oh my God, everything just closed up. The erector pili, this is the muscle that holds your hairs upright on your skin. There are musculatures around that like close up the pores and cinch everything as a reaction to the cold. So it's actually a way to kind of close your pores and keep clean, keep a little healthier a little bit longer. That's pretty common. Now, 30 seconds is a long time in a shower because you're not fully submerged, okay? It's very difficult for me. I can sit for 5 minutes in ice cold water and be fine, but 10 seconds of standing in a shower as cold as it goes, even if I'm turning and trying to like tap dance, it's so shockingly cold to me because all of my body's not in it, just where the water's hitting me. I feel like it's worse. And he says that as well. Great show if you haven't seen it. Is Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. Check my channel. I did an hour review of that. Spoiler alert, I tell you about every single episode, but man, if that wasn't fantastic. I loved that show. I loved everything about it. The strength chapter, I think it was chapter 4 or 5, fantastic. The death one at the end, talk about emotional. Man, I lost my shit watching that one, but such a good show. Anyhow, they do a whole episode on cold exposure, break down all the science behind it. It's excellent. So check that out if you get a chance. This kind of talks a little bit more about it, what you're looking for, what the purpose is. They talk about the idea of the therapy and then what's going on with your body, with brown fat, adipose tissue, etc. Again, I'm not a scientist. I just read the stuff and take the best things to go into practice. Even our kids did it. They did a great job. They went down onto their knees, got up to their neck, had their hands and their faces out. And I think they did, 4 or 5 minutes each. But again, we're in the, upper 40s in temperature. So it was pretty manageable, tolerable for everybody. Before we wrap up here, I am going to do a couple of questions that people have been asking about lower back pain. I did a brand new video. You can see it right there. Do you have lower back pain? Statistically, 90% of you do or are going to in your lifetime. So what can you do about it? And for about 30 minutes or so, I give you a very full breakdown of lower back pain. And then in there, I said, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll answer them. So I'm going to answer a few here in a moment. But I want to do a big shout out and a big thank you. We made it to 2,000 subscribers. Now, I know you'll go to other channels, right? And you'll be like, Chris Hemsworth has, 200,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. I am overjoyed and thrilled that we made it to 2,000. It's a grind to get new people to subscribe. It's very, very difficult. So that's why I always ask if you can help us grow this channel, please do. But to get to 2,000, I'm very, very happy. I hope we're on our way to gaining some more momentum and getting some more eyes on the content on here because a lot of you seem to really like it, or at least our statistics show that everybody's really enjoying these. So a big thank you to you. And if you could please continue to help us grow, that would be awesome. Okay, so I put up a little post that just said, what are your questions on this? Ryan said, I don't necessarily have a question, but I think it'd be good to make bulging disc and herniated disc less catastrophic in people's minds. A lot of people do think if you have a bulge or a herniation, it's like life is over, you're never going to be able to do anything again. That's not true. Things are going to be discomfort. You're going to be in discomfort. Things will be uncomfortable, but it's not that bad. Understanding that it's fairly common, that a very good majority of people do have them. He's absolutely right there. Educating people on this, that there's going to be some intolerance to certain things. And so, as he puts on here, definitely deep forward flexing, very heavy lifting, flexing and twisting, jumping, bounding, anything that's high impact. Overhead pressing can become very difficult as well. You're going to have some issues. Every bulge, every herniation, all this, they're all very different. You have 360 degrees in direction in which these things can start to push and bulge and rupture and have all these issues, and all kinds of musculatures and structural formations that go around it, vertebrae above and below, pressurizing. Do you have degenerative disc? Do you have arthritis? Do you have stenosis? I mean, there's so much that goes into a back injury. So in my previous video, I do kind of talk about, hey, here's like a muscular injury, then it gets more structural, and then you have bulges, and then you have herniations, and we kind of go through. Now, herniation's probably one of the worst situations for lower back pain, which means you've now ruptured the disc, and you're probably not going to be able to repair it. Very rarely are they repaired on their own and or tolerated in a life where it doesn't bother you constantly, okay? The reason this is such a hot topic is 15 years ago, I had back surgery, and I'm now kind of feeling like I'm in a position where I'm going to have another one. Having an MRI, finding that all 5 of my lumbar, all 5 are bulging discs, and that one has ruptured and been repaired, and the other one has newly ruptured and is going to probably need to be repaired. We'll see. We'll see what my doctor says and what our plan is. But discussing the idea of steroid shots and all this other stuff, traction-based things. When you have hip replacements, tractions are very difficult. Steroid shots basically just bridge gaps between the therapies of what you want to do. They break down the joint, they break down the cartilage, they do more damage than good in my opinion, and 50% of the time they don't work anyway. So you basically get a shot for no reason, and that's, if it does work, it now gives you false feelings of, well, I feel better, I'm going to use it more, which ultimately creates a faster return to you damaging it. I don't think it's a great route to go, but to each their own, just giving you my opinions, okay? But Ryan does make a very good point here. It's not the end of the world. It's just it is a big limitation that you're going to have to train with and learn to train with, and that's where good coaches will come in. Diane made a comment on here. I have a client with sciatica from a compressed nerve. It's been years, and she's had months of PT, injections, and is now seeing a chiropractor, as well as continuing with me. Her pain goes down her calf. They have told her it is a herniated disc. X-rays revealed no arthritis in her spine. The doctor told her surgery is the next step, which she wants to avoid at all costs, being 83. Today, her leg and her calf were really bothering her since the weekend trip out of the state. I had her do a hamstring stretch with her foot up on the chair and dorsiflexion and the hinging her flat back towards the chest, I think, and towards the knee. She said it helped a lot and immediately. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is, yes, that's a very good stretch, but there's something called nerve flossing, which may sound a little goofy, but really what's kind of going on is you're going to stimulate the nerve via muscular engagement, and you'll stimulate it. I'm not going to get into it in depth now, but you can search this and find it, where you can basically activate the musculature below the nerve and relax the musculature above, and then switch that. Activate, relax, and you can like thread floss, if you will, the nerve back and forth, and it's very similar to what's going on in that position. My favorite one to do is seated, and I'll do my head up when my leg goes up and my head down when my leg goes down. And this is one that flosses here as I'm putting my head up and stretching around my glute and then stretching around my neck, the erectors that go around my spine. That one gives you a pretty good stimulus for that sciatic nerve, L3, 4, 5, anything, in those areas. So Diane, great information. That is true. This is also like a toe drag, drop foot issue as well as sciatica that gets really bad. You'll start to see clients' shoes and their feet start to skip and drag across the ground. So that's another big one too. All right, last one from Jeanette. Great information on the video. I'm 62, training myself. I'm particularly interested in what you said about spinal flexion towards the pelvis and how it's not good for my lower back. Many years ago, I had a disc bulge, L4, L5. Took 18 months for me to recover. Now I'm stronger and wish to not get injured. Recently doing some dead bugs and started, this is the opposite arm, opposite leg, laying on your back position. I'm wondering if what you said basically is counterintuitive to that. So what I was saying is, in this other video, is if you're bringing your pelvis and your sternum closer together, okay, rounding your back, the natural lordotic curve of your lumbar to your thoracic spine does not want to go that way. That's why sit-ups, leg lifts, crunches, anything where you're bringing your pelvis closer to your sternum is really not ideal. You're going to cause more damage than good, okay? Now, there are some that will debate with that, but anatomically, I don't really think you can. There are like proper postures to be in for all of those exercises I just said, but most people can't maintain them for one rep correctly, but they're gonna do hundreds of them in a workout. It's just gonna cause more damage than good. There are much better, more efficient ways to train in that. Now with a dead bug, you're in a supine face-up position and you're gonna alternate arm and leg, and it's basically like a bird dog on your back. That exercise is a therapy for the injury in which you're discussing, and there isn't a problem with that. Why? Because you're not flexing and extending over and over again. You're maintaining a neutral position and then articulating your legs back and forth. So unless you're doing a dead bug crunch where like every time you switch your arms, you're crunching, then it's probably gonna aggravate you. But if you're just staying neutral, staying still and just articulating your legs opposite back and forth and your arms opposite back, you'll be fine. In anything, just to wrap this up, anything and everything is always pain is your guide, pain is your tolerance. If it's bothering you and it's a lower back, I always say eye injuries and lower back and neck are all the same. If it hurts, stop. Other injuries, there are therapies where you're gonna have to deal with some pain to get better. But if it's your lower back, if it's your neck, and if it's your eye, anything that you're doing continues to hurt it, stop doing that. Like, ow, that hurts, ow, that hurts. Well, stop touching it, right? Oh, this hurts my neck. Every time I turn my neck, quit testing it. All you're doing is ripping the scab off, and we're gonna have to start this all over again. So the lower back is probably the most guilty of that, where anytime you're like, oh, yep, I round my back, yep, it still hurts. You're like, let's start all over. All the healing that you were just doing has now just been destroyed because you had to test it, okay? Anyhow. All right, I'm over my time limit. I try to wrap these at 20. I just love talking to everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Comments, questions, hit me up down below. If not, please continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. I will see you in the next one. I love and appreciate all of you. Thank you to all of our subscribers. You're the best, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.